How did a brand deal and a music award reignite one of the most heated rivalries in modern-day UK grime? The world thought the Stormzy versus Chip war had finally cooled down. But trust me, this beef is far from over. For years, Stormzy, the global grime sensation, and Chip, the UK rap legend, have thrown shots, dropped diss tracks, and dragged each other through the mud. Fans thought it was done, until two major corporations decided to turn up the heat. And now, this beef, no pun intended, is back, and it's hotter than ever. Today, we're breaking down how an innocent TV advert and a music award reignited this explosive beef, and why it's bigger, nastier, and more personal than you think. Get ready for the real story. Stormzy and Chip are both kings of the UK grime game. Chip, aka Chipmunk, built his reputation with raw talent, killer battle bars, and high-profile beefs with the likes of Bugsy Malone. Meanwhile, Stormzy's rise was like a storm, again no pun intended. From underground grime to global domination with hits like Shut Up and grime anthems such as Way Too Big for Your Boots. At first Chip showed love to Stormzy, but slowly something dark started brewing. As Stormzy rose to fame, subtle jabs began to creep into their music, and that's when the real drama kicked off. The tension first boiled over on Chip's track that is titled Ways, that is spelt with a Z. In it, he spits. You ain't even done 10 years in this ting. Round here we don't hear you're a king, man will take your throne. That was a direct shot at Stormzy. It was clear, Chip was calling him out. But Stormzy wasn't just going to take it. He hit back on T-On Wayne's track that is called I Dunno, with a line that sounded like a shot at Chip. Big is he sending for me? I dunno. Either way, Chip wasn't having it. He immediately dropped a reply titled Flowers, calling Stormzy a fraud, accusing him of being industry-controlled and questioning his grime credibility. But the real shock came when Stormzy allegedly pulled up to Chip's house in a Lamborghini with some goons. Yeah, you heard that right. It was getting real. However, Chip still didn't back down. Killer MC dropped next, a brutal grime diss track that took no prisoners. Stormzy, on the other hand, went silent. The streets were buzzing. Everyone was waiting for his next move. But Stormzy stayed quiet, and that left Chip with the upper hand. Months went by and the battle seemed over. Stormzy hadn't responded. But in 2022, Stormzy stirred the pot again, but not by dissing Chip directly. Instead, he dropped a verse on Dave's track named Clash, Rapping. Everyone raps but say they don't battle. You know their cap. Another shot at Chipmunk? Most definitely. And Chip, what did he do, I hear you asking? In real Chipmunk style, he replied straight away, throwing more shade at Stormzy. But Stormzy, he stayed silent once again. The battle was clearly not going to be the spectacle everyone had hoped for. People were starting to think that was the end of it all, but then something bizarre reignited the beef in the most shocking way possible. Stormzy, Grime's gritty, outspoken frontman, did what some think is the unthinkable. He teamed up with a major fast food brand for a commercial and brand deal. Yes, you heard right. Stormzy, the same man who had always rapped about staying true to the streets, partnered with a corporate giant. For many fans, this was a massive betrayal. Grime was built on authenticity, and now Stormzy was selling out. However, the timing couldn't have been worse. This fast food giant had recently been embroiled in some controversy, but the company worked hard to resolve the issue, demonstrating maturity and professionalism. And if you do the research, you will see that they actually handled the resolution quite well. You have to take into account that this corporate megagroup operates as a franchise and doesn't own a single location. They aren't directly responsible for the actions of individual store owners. But still, to some of Stormzy's fans, the damage was done. Many felt betrayed by his move. The artist who was once a leader of social justice now seemed to be bowing down to corporate money. However, I think most people are just mad at Stormzy out of jealousy. He secured the bag with this recent brand deal, but that's just my personal opinion. I could be wrong. Now, many years had gone by, and most people had forgotten about the Stormzy and Chip beef. Most likely, even Stormzy himself had moved on. However, the same couldn't be said about Chip. Ever the opportunist, he didn't waste a second. He jumped on social media, throwing shade at his number one op. It seemed like Chip didn't rate some of Stormzy's recent decisions. He called him out, not just for the brand deal, but for the commercial path he seemed to be taking. It was the perfect moment for Chip to strike, and just like that, the beef was back. Then just when we thought things couldn't get more intense, Stormzy won a music award for Best Grime Artist in 2025. But here's the shocking twist. Stormzy himself said Central C should have won instead of him. The internet exploded. How could someone who had barely released any music over the past year beat Central C, who had been dominating the scene with a crazy run? For many, it was a moment of humility, and that Stormzy was giving credit to Central C's hard work. But for others, it felt like a backhanded comment. To some, it was like Stormzy was pushing Central C aside, while still taking home the award. Chip, of course, wasn't having it. He wasn't just a bystander anymore, he was in the front lines. Chip smelled blood, and he struck again. Chip saw an opportunity and took it. With Stormzy's brand deal and music award win, Chip dropped more shade than ever, calling out Stormzy's commercial moves, and how far he'd fallen from the grime roots that made him a legend. The streets were buzzing, the battle lines were once again drawn. Chip had reignited the flames of this beef with precision. And now, the whole world is asking, will Stormzy finally respond? Or has Chip officially won this beef once and for all? The Stormzy versus Chip saga isn't just about music, it's a battle for authenticity. For the soul of grime itself, and as these two titans continue to clash, we'll be here to watch every move. So, what do you think? Was Stormzy wrong for teaming up with the fast food giant? Did he deserve the Grime Award over Central C? And will Stormzy finally step up and end the silence?